and welcome back to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie.
And today we're talking about this book because the author is coming to visit our library, and we have a lot of activities about this because we're very excited about Kid Albus's visit. And her book, this is a children's book. It's called The Place to Hang the Moon, and it takes place in World War II with children that are being evacuated from London. And these three children, it goes on with their story. So Jules and I thought we might do
adult books that feature World War II settings. So some of them take place in London, some do not, but I'll turn it to Jill for her first pick.
Yes, so my first one is Beneath a Scarlet Sky by Mark Sullivan. This is based on a true story of a forgotten hero. It's a triumphant epic tale of one man's incredible courage and resilience during one of history's darkest hours. Pino Lella wants nothing to do with the war or the Nazis. He's a normal Italian teenager obsessed with music, food, and girls. But his days of innocence are numbered. When his family home in Milan is destroyed by Allied bombs, Pino joins an underground railroad helping Jews escape over the Alps and falls for Anna, a beautiful widow 6 years his senior. In an attempt to protect him, Pino's parents force him to enlist as a German soldier, a move they think will keep him out of combat. But after Pino is injured, he is recruited at the tender age of 18 to become a personal driver for Adolf Hitler's left hand in Italy, General Hans Leyers, one of the Third Reich's most mysterious and powerful commanders. Now with the opportunity to spy for the Allies inside the German High Command, Pino endures the horrors of war and the Nazi occupation by fighting in secret, his courage bolstered by his love for Anna and for the life he dreams they will one day share. This is for fans of All the Light We Cannot See, The Nightingale, or Unbroken, and it was published in 2017.
Yeah, that appeared on my list too when I was searching. My first pick is actually the last book that I just listened to, and that is The Last Bookshop in London by Madeline Martin. This was published in 2021. It's inspired by the true World War II history of the few bookshops to survive the Blitz. It's a timeless story of wartime loss, love, and the enduring power of literature. Takes place in August 1939. London prepares for war as Hitler's forces sweep across Europe. Grace Bennett has always dreamed of moving to the city, but the bunkers and blackout curtains that she finds on her arrival were not what she expected. And she certainly never imagined herself working at Primrose Hill, a dusty old bookshop nestled in the heart of London. But through these blackouts and air raids, and as the Blitz intensifies, Grace discovers the power of storytelling to unite her community in ways she never dreamed. She sits at the bookshop and she reads stories to the people in the neighborhood and stuff, like when the air raids, and she reads them in the bunkers during the blackouts and stuff. So it's a force that triumphs over even the darkest nights of the war. Again, it's got love, it's got storytelling. I enjoyed listening to this book, so check out The Last Bookshop in London.
The power of stories. My next one is We Must Be Brave. This one is by Frances Liardet. December 1940, as German bombs fall in Southampton, England during World War II, the city's residents flee to surrounding villages. In Upton Village, amid the chaos, newly married Ellen Parr finds a girl asleep, unclaimed at the back of an empty bus. Little Pamela, it seems, is entirely alone. Ellen has always believed she does not want children, but when she takes Pamela into her home, the child cracks open the past Ellen thought she had escaped, in a future she and her husband Selwyn had dreamed of for themselves. As the war rages on, love grows where it is least expected, surprising them all. But with the end of the fighting comes the realization that Pamela was never theirs to keep. Spanning the sweep of the 20th century, We Must Be Brave explores the fierce love that we feel for our children and the power of love to endure. So, a kid love. I like that. And that one does take place in England.
My second pick is by a popular author at our library, and this is The Forest of Vanishing Stars by Kristen Harmel. This also was published back in 2021. She is the best-selling author of The Book of Lost Names. I know that's been a popular book here at the library, too. This book is an evocative coming-of-age World War II story about a young woman who uses her knowledge of the wilderness to help Jewish refugees escape the Nazis, until a secret from her past starts to threaten everything. After being stolen from her wealthy German parents and raised in the unforgiving wilderness of Eastern Europe, a young woman finds herself alone in 1941 after her kidnapper dies. Her solitary existence is interrupted, however, when she happens upon a group of Jews fleeing the Nazi terror. Stunned to learn what's happening in the outside world, she vows to teach the group all she can about survival in the forest, and in turn, they teach her some surprising lessons about opening her heart after years of living alone. But when she is betrayed and escapes into a German-occupied village, her past and present come together in a shocking collision that now could change everything. It's inspired by incredible true stories of survival against staggering odds, and it's suffused with the journey from the wilderness elements that made Where the Crawdads Sing a worldwide phenomenon. So check out this book. It's supposed to be a heart-wrenching and suspenseful novel. It had a 4.26 rating on Goodreads, and I know this author is very popular at our libraries. So Kristen Harmel's The Forest of Vanishing Stars.
That is definitely on my list. I think I've had it checked out a couple of times, too.
And didn't get a chance to read it.
Such a shame. So my next one, this was also an author that visited us, Ruth Sepetys. Salt to the Sea. This takes place during World War II. You might have been lucky enough to see her. She was around, I think, 2018, maybe 2019, before the pandemic. So this is a children's book, but it's young adults. So it's kind of almost adults. So it's good. While the Titanic and the Lusitania were both well-documented disasters, the single greatest tragedy in maritime history is the little-known January 30th, 1945 sinking in the Baltic Sea by a Soviet submarine of the Wilhelm Gustloff, a German cruise liner that was supposed to ferry wartime personnel and refugees to safety from the advancing Red Army. The ship was overcrowded with more than 10,500 passengers. The intended capacity was approximately 1,800, and with more than 9,000 people, including 5,000 children that lost their lives in this tragedy. Sepetys, writer of Between Shades of Grey, crafts 4 fictionalized but historically accurate voices to convey a real-life tragedy. Joanna, a Lithuanian with a nursing experience, Florian, a Prussian soldier fleeing the Nazis with stolen treasure, and Amelia, a Polish girl close to the end of her pregnancy, converge on their escape journeys as Russian troops advance. Each will eventually meet Albert, a Nazi person with delusions of grandeur, assigned to the Gustloff decks. So this was published in 2016, and it is a really good book. Yeah, I really enjoyed that
book. Enjoyed her as a speaker at the Fox Cities Reads, too.
Yeah, she was really good.
My third pick is another one that does take place in London, just like A Place to Hang the Moon. And this is The Last Train to London by Meg Clayton. This was published in 2019. This is for fans of Orphan Train and All the Light We Cannot See. That came up on several of the lists that I looked at. So it centers on the Kinder transports that carried thousands of children out of Nazi-occupied Europe and one brave woman who helped them escape to safety. In 1936, the Nazis are a little more than loud, brutish bores to 15-year-old Stefan Neumann, the son of a wealthy and influential Jewish family and a budding playwright whose playground extends from Vienna's streets to its intricate underground tunnels. His best friend and companion is the brilliant Sophie Helene, a Christian girl whose mother edits a progressive anti-Nazi newspaper. But the two adolescents' carefree innocence is shattered when the Nazis take control. There is hope in the darkness, though. Truus Weissmuller, a member of the Dutch resistance, risks her life smuggling Jewish children out of Nazi Germany to the nations that will take them. It's a mission that becomes even more dangerous after the Anschluss, Hitler's annexation of Austria. As across Europe, countries close their borders to the growing number of refugees desperate to escape. This woman is determined to save as many children as she can. After Britain passes a measure to take in at-risk child refugees from the German Reich, she dares to approach Adolf Eichmann, the man who would later help devise the final solution to the Jewish question, in a race against time to bring children on a perilous journey to an uncertain future abroad. So, sounds like a good read. It's an absolutely fascinating, beautifully rendered story of love, loss, and heroism in the dark days leading up to World War II, is what Kristen Hanna said about this book. And you all are familiar with Kristen Hanna.
You know her.
So, 4.14 rating on Goodreads for that one.
My next one is kind of a new, published in 2022, The 3 Lives of Alex St. Pierre by Natasha Lester. 1943, after spearheading several successful advertising campaigns in New York, PR wizard Alex St. Pierre comes to the attention of the U.S. government and finds herself recruited into a fledgling intelligence organization. Enlisted as a spy, Alex is sent to Europe, where she is tasked with getting close to a Nazi who might be willing to help the Allied forces. But there's also a chance he might be a double agent. 1946, following the war, Alex moves to Paris to run a service de la presse for the yet-to-be-launched House of Christian Dior. But when a figure from the war reappears and threatens to destroy her future, Alex realizes only she can right the wrongs of the past and bring them to justice. The Three Lives of Alex St. Pierre is a thrilling, sumptuous work of historical fiction told in 3 timelines during, before, and after World War II. It's an immersive story, takes readers from the dangerous, intrigue-filled rooms in Switzerland where elites of both sides mingled and schemed during the war, to the glamorous halls of the House of Dior in the golden age of the French fashion and journalism. So, little journalism and a little war for you.
My next pick is also a dual timeline thing. This is Sarah's Key by Tatiana de Rosne, published in 2006. This is actually one of the books that kind of got me back into reading. In my previous job, I didn't read as much because I did a lot of paperwork all day. And I picked up this book, and I wept when I read this book, and it kind of launched me back into reading as much as I do now. There's also a movie that goes with this, Sarah's Key, starring Kristen Scott Thomas. But the book takes place in Paris, July 1942, when 10-year-old Sarah is brutally arrested with her family in the Veldiv Roundup, the most notorious act of French collaboration with the Nazis. But before the police come to take them, Sarah locks her younger brother in their favorite hiding place, a cupboard in the family's apartment, and she keeps the key, thinking she'll be back within a few hours. And it also takes place in Paris, May 2002. On Veldiv's 60th anniversary, Julia, an American journalist, is asked by her Paris-based American magazine to write an article about this Black Day in French's past. She has lived in Paris for nearly 25 years. She's married a Frenchman, and she's shocked by both her ignorance about the event and the silence that still surrounds it. In the course of her investigation, she stumbles onto a trail of long-hidden family secrets that connects her back to Sarah. She finds herself compelled to retrace the girl's ordeal from the terrible days spent shut at the Veldiv to the camps and beyond. As she probes into Sarah's past, she begins to question her own place in France and to reevaluate her marriage and her life. Writing about the fate of her country with a pitiless clarity, the author offers us a brilliantly subtle, compelling portrait of France under occupation and reveals the taboos and denials surrounding this painful episode in French history. And I have to admit, another thing I did not realize till I read this book. So, Sarah's Key.
Something that gets you out of a reading slump.
Yeah.
That could be a good subject for next one of future videos.
Another future Friday Reads topic.
So my last pick is The Secrets of a Charmed Life by Susan Meisner. Current-day Oxford, England, young American scholar Kendra Van Zandt, eager to pursue her vision of a perfect life, interviews Isabel McFarlane just when the elderly woman is ready to give up secrets about the war that she has kept for decades, beginning with who she really is. What Kendra receives from Isabel is both a gift and a burden, one that will test her convictions and her heart. 1940s England, as Hitler wages an unprecedented war against London's civilian population, hundreds of thousands of children are evacuated to foster homes in the rural countryside, which is what happens in Place to Hang the Moon, so I'm super excited to find this pick. But even as 15-year-old Emmy Downtree and her much younger sister Julia find refuge in a charming Cotswold cottage, Emmy's burning ambition to return to the city and apprentice with a fashion designer pits her against Julia's profound need for her sister's presence. Acting at cross purposes, just as Luftwaffe rains down its terrible destruction, the sisters are cruelly separated and their lives are transformed. So, Secrets of a Charmed Life. Doesn't sound very charmed to me, but...
No. My last pick is Kelly Rimmer's The Things We Cannot Say. This was published back in 2018, and this had a high rating. This was a 4.51 on Goodreads. So
it's really good.
If my voice holds out, I'll get through this one. In 1942, Europe remains in the relentless grip of war. Just beyond the tents of the Russian refugee camps she calls home, a young woman speaks her wedding vows. It's a decision that will alter her destiny, and it's a lie that will remain buried until the next century. Since she was 9 years old, Elena knew she would marry her best friend Tomasz. Now 15 and engaged, she is unconcerned about reports of Nazi soldiers at the Polish border, believing her neighbors that they pose no real threat, and dreams instead of the day Tomasz returns from college in Warsaw so they can be married. But little by little, injustice by brutal injustice, the Nazi occupation takes hold, and her tiny rural village, its families are divided by both fear and hate. Then, as the fabric of their lives is slowly picked apart, Tomasz disappears. Where Elena used to measure time between visits from her beloved, now she measures the spaces between hope and despair, waiting for word from Tomasz and avoiding the attention of the soldiers who patrol her parents' farm. But for now, even deafening silence is preferable to grief. Slipping between Nazi-occupied Poland and the frenetic pace of modern life, this author creates an emotional and finely wrought narrative that weaves together two women's stories into a tapestry of perseverance, loyalty, love, and honor. Things We Cannot Say is an unshakable reminder of the devastation when truth is silenced and how it can take a lifetime to find our voice before we learn to trust it. So check out Kelly Rimmer's The Things We Cannot Say.
Well, we hope we helped you find something to read if you love historical fiction, and especially the World War II era of historical fiction.
I told Jill when I looked up different ones to recommend, these books had very high ratings compared to some of the other genres that we picked. So it's obviously a fan favorite of people to read these novels. We hope you come and check out a copy of A Place to Hang the Moon. We're, like Jill said, we're really excited about Kate Albus's visit. If you're a 4th through 7th grader and you know a 4th through 7th grader who would like to do a book discussion the week before she comes on April 18th, Jill and I are going to do a book discussion with those kids. We'll do a little craft and a book discussion and have them kind of formulate some questions for Kate's visit.
And we got books here if you want to come in and check them out. And we can...
Yeah, we put some on hold. If you know kids or if you know somebody who wants to read a copy of the book before she comes, April's right around the corner. So until then, thank you for watching our Friday Reads video. You can find us on Facebook. You find us on YouTube. Like, comment, share. We love to hear from you. And until next time, thanks for watching.